The flash doesn't give you a warning, it steals your time. 1 second you're standing near a window scrolling, distracted. The next, white, not bright, white, like your brain can't process it. Then the pressure hits. Windows implode inward. Air becomes a weapon, and in that moment the first hour of your life splits into two outcomes. You either control what happens next, or you become part of the chaos. And the difference might be a $5 item you've probably ignored your entire life. A simple respirator mask, an N95, cheap, light, easy to forget, until the air tries to kill you. The problem isn't the explosion. If you're close enough to die instantly, nothing in this video saves you. That's the truth. But most people aren't at ground zero. Most people survive the blast and then walk straight into what actually kills them. Dust, not normal dust, not dirt. This is pulverized concrete, insulation, glass fibers, heavy metals, and if it's a nuclear detonation, radioactive fallout. Microscopic particles small enough to slide past your body's defenses and embed deep in your lungs. You breathe it once, you cough, you think you're fine. You're not. Those particles stay. They scar tissue. They carry toxins. They irradiate from the inside out if fallout is involved. And worse, your body doesn't feel the damage immediately. You keep moving, keep breathing, making it worse with every step. So here's the threat. You survive the blast, and then you poison yourself trying to escape it. Now the solution. You cover your airway immediately, not later, not when it feels bad, immediately. That's where the $5 mask becomes the most valuable object you own. An N95 isn't magic, but it's engineered for this exact problem. It filters at least 95% of airborne particles down to a certain size. That includes a huge portion of the dangerous debris floating after a collapse or blast. You don't need perfect conditions. You need reduction. Less dust in your lungs means more time, clearer thinking, better mobility. Time is everything in the first hour. You grab the mask, your hands are shaking. That's normal. Your brain is flooded, trying to process what just happened. This is where most people make their first fatal mistake. They freeze or they run blindly. You don't. You put the mask on before you move. Not around your neck, not half on. Sealed, over nose and mouth, tight enough that your breath pulls through the filter, not around it. Because here's the part no one tells you. Every deep breath you take while panicking pulls more contaminants into your body. Panic literally accelerates your death. The mask slows that process down. Now the second threat hits. Visibility drops, sirens, people screaming, structures unstable. You want to run outside, everyone does. But the outside air, it's worse. If fallout is present, the first particles start settling within minutes. They stick to skin, clothing, hair. You walk through it, you wear it, you bring it with you. So you make a decision most people won't. You don't run into open air blindly, you move with intention. You get inside the nearest structurally stable building that isn't actively damaged. Lower floors, interior rooms, away from windows. Because radiation and particulate exposure follow simple physics. Distance reduces intensity, mass blocks particles, time reduces total dose. You're buying all three. The mask stays on, even indoors, especially indoors, because damaged buildings release their own clouds, drywall dust, fiberglass, insulation, invisible threats that cut your lungs with every breath. People around you will pull their shirts over their faces. It feels smart. It feels instinctive. It does almost nothing. Cloth doesn't filter fine particles effectively. It slows airflow a little. That's it. You need filtration, not symbolism. This is where that $5 decision becomes the difference between controlled breathing and slow suffocation. Minutes pass, then more. Your body starts reacting. Dry throat, irritated eyes, maybe a cough. That's not the worst part. The worst part is dehydration creeping in without you noticing. Stress burns water fast. Dust dries your airways. You lose fluid just trying to breathe. If you didn't plan for water, you're already behind. So you conserve. You don't talk unless necessary. You don't move more than needed. You keep your breathing steady, controlled through the mask. Every decision now is about reducing strain. Because the first hour isn't about escaping the city. It's about stabilizing yourself long enough to make a smart move. Then comes the human threat. People panic. They push, they make noise, they draw attention. Some will try to leave immediately. Some will follow crowds without thinking. Crowds are dangerous. They create bottlenecks. They stir up more dust. They force you into exposed areas, and worst of all, they make you react instead of think. You don't follow panic. You observe. You wait for a moment when movement is controlled, not chaotic, because stepping outside at the wrong time, even with a mask, exposes you to higher concentrations of airborne particles. Timing matters as much as protection. Eventually, you move, mask still on, head covered if possible, skin exposure minimized. You choose routes that avoid debris fields, avoid smoke plumes, avoid open areas where dust is still actively moving. Short movements, stop, assess, move again. You're not running, you're surviving. And here's the consequence most people never consider. If you inhale enough toxic particulate in that first hour, it doesn't matter where you go next. You've already made the fatal mistake. Lung damage doesn't negotiate. Radiation doesn't wait for symptoms. By the time you feel it, it's already done. That's why the first hour decides everything. Not because of what hits you, but because of what you breathe. So let's make it simple. You don't need expensive gear to survive the beginning of the end. You need awareness. You need control. And sometimes you need a $5 piece of material that stands between your lungs and everything trying to destroy them. Because when the world fractures in a single moment, survival doesn't belong to the strongest. It belongs to the ones who prepared for the part no one talks about, the air, and whether or not you were ready to breathe it.